Tonight's agenda includes the third and final installment of our series of presentations highlighting important aspects of our strategic vision for the school district's future. Our focus tonight will be on the components of our work that focuses on increasing student achievement. Tonight's presentation follows our focus on human resources in March, including the plans for increasing the diversity of our workforce, and our presentation on the community partnerships at the October 12th meeting. Tonight, we will look at our instructional focus, culturally responsive education, differentiated instruction, and student achievement. These are all critical components of our efforts to enhance the delivery of quality instruction in all classrooms across the district, to build leadership capacity, and to increase accountability. Our presentation tonight will also address our plans for empowering families to support their children's success. I'm looking forward to this important discussion. Tomorrow, I will have the honor of joining students, parents, and educational leaders from the community, from our district and throughout New York for a symposium on My Brother's Keeper. My Brother's Keeper is an initiative that is focused on helping boys and young men of color and all students realize their full potential. Here in our school district, we also include sisters, and so we have My Brothers and Sisters Keeper here in the City School District of Albany. Tomorrow's event is at the Empire State Plaza Convention Center and will include national experts in the field of human and child development. The discussion will center on how to ensure boys and young men of color have opportunities to succeed in school and life. This symposium will also include the introduction of the inaugural class of the MBK Fellows, which we will include 2 students from Albany High, Nasir Curry and Jalen Rainey. Albany is one of 21 member community in New York's MBK Community Network. We are very much looking forward to continuing this work together with our colleagues from across the state tomorrow. A reminder that we are hosting the first day of a free 2-part OSHA training program at Pine Hills Elementary on Saturday. This OSHA 10-hour training is free for up to 35 individuals. It is part of the district's ongoing efforts to help our city residents, and especially our residents of color, acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to get jobs in the construction industry. The safety training is being offered for free thanks to the support of Turner Construction. We encourage anyone who is interested to pre-register. The second part of the training will be offered next Saturday, May 5th. Please note that attendance for both days is required. We have a flyer with more information available here tonight, including contact information for anyone who would like to pre-register. You may also visit albanyschools.org for details. Again, the first part of this free OSHA training will be this Saturday from 8 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. at Pine Hills Elementary School. We have 2 excellent opportunities for our students coming up over the next few weekends, thanks to the continued support of the Black Child Development Institute. This Saturday, students in grades 7-12 will have the opportunity to participate in the Entering the College Zone event at Hudson Valley Community College. Entering the College Zone is a pre-college program designed for students who might not otherwise know or believe that college can be in their future. This program communicates that early and sustained preparation is the key to attending and succeeding in college. Also, coming up on Saturday, May 12th, is the RPI BCDI STEM Day for 30 of our students in grades 7 and 8. This event is on the RPI campus, will allow our students to participate in a variety of STEM workshops. It is an opportunity for our students to begin to explore their interest in computers, engineering, physics, and other related STEM fields. I want to thank Barry Walston, president of the BCDI Albany affiliate, for his continued support of our students in the Albany City School District. Our transportation department staff participated in an important safety-themed media event this morning. with colleagues and law enforcement officials from throughout the Capital Region. Today was Operation Safe Stop Education and Enforcement Day across New York. The critical message of Operation Safe Stop is to raise awareness of the serious dangers of passing a stopped school bus when the red lights are flashing. Every day across New York, more than 50,000 people pass school buses illegally while the red lights are flashing. Today, law enforcement officials statewide stepped up enforcement of this law with a goal of driving home the important safety message for all of our students. Last year on this day, law enforcement officials handed out more than 1,000 citations for passing school buses illegally. Our school district is a strong supporter of these enforcement and education initiatives. We are pleased to have the opportunity to join our colleagues from other area school districts for today's public service message. As you know, our annual school budget vote and Board of Education elections are coming up on Tuesday, May 15th. We had our first 2 community budget presentations this week for neighborhood associations in the South End and Arbor Hill. We currently have 6 more scheduled before the May 15th vote. Our budget newsletter is hot off the press and available here tonight. It is being mailed to all city residents and will be arriving in mailboxes this week. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. on May 15th. I also want to remind everyone that we have 1 new voting location this year. Those voters in the 8th and 14th wards who have voted at Mater Christi School in the past now will vote at Bethany Reformed Church on New Scotland Avenue. If you have any questions about the budget proposal or any of the items that will be on the ballot May 15th, or if you would like to schedule a presentation for your organization before the vote, please contact the Director of Communications and Operations, Ron Lesko, at 518-475-6065. As always, you can find more information about all aspects of this year's budget vote and board elections at albanyschools.org. At this time, I would like to invite Principal Leslie Buff to tell us more of the great things that are happening here at North Albany Academy.
Good evening. Welcome to North Albany Academy. As always, thank you for giving me an opportunity to brag about my school. I think last year I said I was slide happy. This year I think I might have been even more slide happy, so I apologize. I will try to talk very quickly to get through some of these slides. Oops, and I go too fast. So the North Albany mission, we rewrote this mission about 3 years ago to align with becoming an AVID elementary school. So you'll see we really have a focus on supporting our students and enabling them to be prepared to achieve college and career readiness. It is our belief that it's never too early to start to build these success skills within our students. So when they leave us, they are prepared for the workforce or entering college. And in the upcoming slides, hopefully you'll see how this mission really drives the work that we do within the building. Our student population has remained fairly consistent over the past couple of years. The only difference this year is you'll see we transitioned into a pre-K through 5th grade building instead of a pre-K through 8th grade building. We are 2 deep at each level, having nice numbers in each section, and this year we had additional 3 self-contained classes, 15 ones added to the building. Our student population still continues to be diverse and again remaining fairly consistent. Last year, we also had 13% of our students be English language learners. The difference is that last year, they primarily sat up at the middle school level in a self-contained classroom. So this year, our L population at the elementary level has actually grown significantly due to our partnership with the Albany International Center. It's a nice partnership. They house 6 through 12, and then I can take the elementary students, keeping families together. We also had an increase in our special ed population. Building-wide, it is 20%, but that's primarily housed at the 3rd and 4th grade level. So 3rd grade, our percentage of special ed students is approximately 35%, and at the 4th grade level, our special ed population is approximately 50%. Our staffing has also remained fairly consistent, with the exception again of losing our middle school staff. We do also share some support staff with the AIC, like hall monitors. My phys ed teachers also teach both schools. I always like to point out points of distinction amongst my staff. I've really tried over the years to push my teachers into leadership roles, and some of them have really blossomed under the umbrella of AVID. Last year, I reported that George Staller was submitted to potentially become the national conference speaker in Philadelphia. He was selected out of over, I think, 1,000 applicants. So that was a huge honor to have George be the summer speaker in Philadelphia this year. If you did not get to see the video, it is up on YouTube, so you can see that and see him speak about the school and our work with AVID. I did have 3 teachers present at AVID National Conference in Orlando this December, and that was Liz Keller, Sue Gray, and George Staller. And I have 3 students that were able to submit proposals to present at the AVID 2018 National Conference, which is Liz, Shannon Pinkowski, and Sue Gray. I'm very sad to report that Mr. Staller is retiring this year. But Shannon was willing to step up into that leadership role. She has big shoes to fill, both literally and figuratively. But I'm very confident that she will be able to do that. And then also, as a building, we were so honored to be chosen as an AVID Showcase School this year. Moving on to our SEP progress, Tenet 2 really revolves around school leadership. But the district has worked hard to not only say that identifies the building principal, but often are also the school leaders within the building, which is why you'll see this goal written as the school leader along with subcommittees. This year, we have worked hard to review our NWA data. We have an abundance of data that we look at, but we use NWA because it is given 3 times a year, as you know, and all of our students take that, so it gives us useful information to measure student growth. Each student, when they take the exam in the fall, is given kind of a score that they're expected to achieve. So as you can see, we are struggling to meet our students' needs in each subgroup for them to achieve their expected growth, particularly in our L's, with only 24% of our students currently meeting the expected growth that they're supposed to achieve. Tenet 2 and Tenet 3 are married closely together, which is why you'll see the goal is written as the same. Tenet 3 is focused on the curriculum and instruction that is occurring within the classroom. I am a slow step or a baby step principal. We know that teachers looking and reviewing data is very important. The district has a formalized data teaming cycle. Last year, I had 2 grade levels participating in that. This year, I added 1 more grade level, and then next year, we'll roll out the whole entire building participating in that formalized data teaming process. That was strategic, and the grade levels were strategic so that the grade levels that I add next year have the support not only of the grade level below, but the grade level above them to make that an easy transition. So I'm confident next year that we should be able to have all of our grade levels formally looking at data, making sure we're explicitly teaching to the areas that our students' deficits are in. Tenet 4 is around instruction in the classroom, and I hope you can, earn teacher practices, appreciate me being candid here. The district was really looking for building principals to get into those classrooms and do walkthroughs with a focus on differentiated instruction. So we knew that that was a district goal, so we built that into our SEP, that would be our, I guess, my charge to focus on differentiated learning opportunities in the classroom and get into those classrooms. I candidly will say that there are barriers to that work. If Dr. Wilson Turner was here, she would be laughing and smiling because I have a board in my office with check marks of who I get into, and I have to be honest and say the check marks have not happened in a while due to teacher evaluations and also just running the daily running of the building. But from doing walkthroughs in the beginning, I decided to address this in a different way mid-year and say to myself that I think my time would be more used or more valuable if I actually spent time kind of walking the walk that the teachers do every day. So I switched from doing walkthroughs to spending an hour of time in each classroom working with the teacher during their reading block time. And I can tell you this has been so valuable, and I've been able to notice a lot of trends within the building. I can tell you that every one of my teachers is pulling small groups and explicitly teaching at that student's level. I can tell you that the reading teachers are pushing into the classroom and providing that double dose of instruction. I can also tell you that there are a lot of inconsistencies across the building and even within teachers that teach the same grade. We're not differentiating instruction. when there's center time. So the teacher is differentiating when they're pulling that small group, but while the students are rotating through the center, those activities are all the same. They're not differentiated. There's also not consistency in how my teachers are doing it, so everybody seems to be doing something different. And I can tell you that also I've noticed that my Ls are really struggling to complete this independent work, which probably relates to the fact, as I showed you before, only 24% of them are meeting the expected growth. So I was able to, by doing this, able to immediately address some of these things. I always try to give credit to staff that might not always have the opportunity to sit up in front of you. Lynn Strang has been very valuable in this work. She was able to help me arrange some professional development with my staff. People that the curriculum series experts were able to come in and provide some guidance to my staff on how we can better differentiate. My literacy coach, Betsy Nigro, has been instrumental and provided some embedded support and also professional development after school on how we can address this, and this will obviously something that we roll into our SEP next year as work that we continually need to do. Tenet 5, if you could have been a fly on the wall during our DTSDE review, I have lots to say about Tenet 5. Our goal was to have a 15% reduction in discipline incidents, and as you can see, we achieved that with 35%. But this is deceiving. We lost our middle school, and so I can't pull out my middle school to really get a comparison. I can tell you from my noticings from being in the classroom that we continue to struggle on Tier 1 interventions. And I'm really, as a principal, not really satisfied with how we're meeting our students' needs. Again, there's a lot of inconsistencies, and this came across in our DTSD survey for parents, students, and teachers that they feel that there's behaviors that are affecting instruction in the classroom. So we're doing a complete reboot of PBIS. My RTI Tier 2, Tier 3 team is currently working on that. They have surveyed, or actually, but through conversation, each grade level teacher and also special area teacher to get feedback on how they can better support them in the classroom and provide more push and support to them, and also modeling of the second step lessons that need to be taught at each level. And we will continue to work with this. I met with my PBIS team yesterday, and we talked about really laying out some non-negotiables for our staff next year, and really making it easier for them to understand what's expected of them. So I'm confident next year that, one, we'll have more accurate data, and two, hopefully we'll see a significant decrease in referrals. We're a small elementary school, and to have 490 is still unacceptable for me. We're spending too much time out of the classroom and really need to get back into the classroom for the learning to take place. Tenet 6 is something I'm actually really happy about and excited about. Tenet 6 is around family engagement, parent engagement, and community engagement. Under AVID, we have tried for the last 2 years to really provide focused opportunities for our parents to come in and really learn how to support their child. So we have parent events that are targeted at grade level, so parents can come in and we can discuss with them things that they can expect from that grade level, what they should see, and how they can support their child. I also have each of my teachers hold at least, at minimum, one parent event where the parent is able to come into the classroom and see the work that the child is doing. So we have had approximately 50% of parent attendance at our AVID events, and depending on the event, our parent events, 10% to 50%. That 10% is because it was a snow day and parents didn't come in, but it's usually higher, probably around 40 to 50% of our parents are making it in the building. This year, we also had students for Parent-Teacher Conference Day complete a learning self-assessment. So they actually assess themselves on what their strengths are, what they think their weaknesses are, how did they learn best, and they were able to share that with their parents during Parent-Teacher Conference Day, because we really want to charge our students with being able to verbalize how they learn. So I think that was a really valuable experience for our parents as well. Last year when I was here, and I'm talking really fast, I'm sorry. Last year when I was here, I kind of gave an overall view of AVID in the building. I joke that you can't come to this building without me talking about AVID. But this year, as you can see, tied back to our mission, we really wanted to expand that college and career going mindset with our students. My goal this year was to, as a school leader, one of my goals was to really partner with the community. So we had countless speakers come in and talk to our students about college and careers. You can see here, this is Dr. Gomes from Maria College. He's director of the Opportunities Program. He came in and spoke to our students. We had Mr. Jones, he's the commissioner under the through the mayor's office for recreation, youth, and workforce. He was able to come in and speak with our students, and our students related to these two gentlemen instantly. Some even on their own. Dr. Gomes sent me an email saying he had our students emailing him, asking him more questions. We also developed a great partnership with Junior Achievement this year. We had over 38 volunteers come into the building for 2 JA in a days and work with our students in educating them on issues of work readiness, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. We believe that our students shouldn't just have people come into the school, but we also have to get them out and see what colleges look like. And it's more than just doing a college tour. It's really trying to expose our students to college way of life. So I arranged for a visit to SUNY, but I arranged for a visit to SUNY on the day when they had the International Festival. So our students were able to go and visit and be with college students and actually see some of the offerings that are offered at colleges. We also visited Maria College since we made that partnership with Dr. Jones, and they actually got to go into a science lab, and you can see they're working with the equipment. Poor Mrs. Keller, if she was here, she'd tell you that they had to flip through one slide because it was the whole anatomy, and she was covering eyes for a minute, but they actually got to see what a college laboratory actually looks like. Our students made a partnership with Lemoyne, so it's not just local colleges, it's also colleges that are a little bit farther away. They just got back from a trip to Lemoyne on the 20th. They just went last Friday. And really, again, a shout out to staff, Albany High School, teacher Karen, you can correct his name, TJ Barisi, College and Career Coordinator. He really helped facilitate this trip, and we were able to go with high school students, which made it that much more valuable for my students because they could actually see and talk to high school students that are getting ready to take this next step and visit Lemoyne with them. So they had a wonderful time. Also very fortunate to have a partnership with Siena College and RPI. RPI comes in and does STEM activities with our students, so they come in and actually teach our students, which has been wonderful. And also Siena College has sent us approximately 20 students this year to be in our classrooms assisting and helping out. So they're a great help, but they also serve as role models and mentors to our students as well. Oops, sorry. Not only getting ready, exposing them to college and careers, but also putting them in leadership roles, really trying to get our students to work on their public speaking skills. So you will see on the left, we have Gabby. She is an avid ambassador, and she's giving a tour of the building and able to speak to the things that are happening within the building. And then you have Superintendent Adams with one of my top-notch avid ambassadors, Marvion, who loves giving tours of the building and being able to talk to you about what's happening at North Albany. We empower our students, as you know, to have avid jobs. So my girls on the left do the announcements every day. I cannot tell you the dramatic change in some of these students that have been able to step into these leadership roles. It has been an honor and a privilege to see the transformation. I'm losing my one fifth grader, and I am so sad because she has really blossomed, and she's diligent, and she even now has taken a little one under her wing and is teaching her how to run the PA so she can take over her position next year. And then, of course, our partnership with Junior Achievement. This is Makai. If you could see, he is standing on a milk crate because he is so small. But honestly, to see a fourth grader stand up in a room of business professionals and be able to speak and not be nervous as I'm shaking even trying to introduce him was beyond impressive. These students possess skills far beyond their years, and it's wonderful to see them be able to do this. Oops. My last slide. We have a ton of upcoming events. We have RPI coming in again to do their Science Ambassador program. On the 4th, if you're interested in seeing our students, they are singing at the New York State Writers Institute. It's an event to honor William Kennedy, who is a North Albany native. His house was actually the first house at the end of this block. So our students will be performing there. Junior Achievement, again, has been wonderful for us this year. I have 12 student presenters. They will be speaking and presenting awards to people being honored by Junior Achievement. I have 3 students choosing to be keynote speakers at that event, so they will be speaking at length, and then our chorus is performing. And then on May 25th, if you're interested in joining us, we are doing a business walking tour. Our 4th and 5th graders will be walking North Albany. I've arranged for local businesses to allow us to come in and talk to them about what it takes to run a business. So we'll be visiting the barber shop. We got the news station, Rad Soap, the Stewart shop, and we're also helping to get the doctors down here at the end, Dr. Thornton at the end of North Pearl. So they will be able to go in and speak with them and ask them questions as to how to run a successful business. With that, I did just want to point out, I would be remiss to mention, I realize I don't have a student speaker. We have a lot, as you can see, going on, and a lot of the students that would come and speak are preparing for these events. And we're also jammed in between New York State ELA, the math test is next week. They've begun the NWA exams. They've been working really hard, and it's just a late night to ask a little one to come out with all of this going on. But you are welcome anytime to visit North Albany or attend one of these events and see our students. And thank you again for allowing me to share North Albany Academy with you.
Leslie, is the May 9th Junior Achievement Dinner here at the building?
No.
Where is that?
Mrs. Adams, do you remember, is it at the Florida Orange Club?
Oh, okay,
We
thank
get
you.
you, yes.
That was
Yep.
awesome. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
I'll do myself. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I used to read the statement as Ms. Tibbetts walked to me, and I apologize for failing in that again. The Albany Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, students, and other people to our meeting. We appreciate community input about the decisions we are making. In addition to accepting comments during the public comment period, we also accept comments by email, phone, or postal mail. While you are making your remarks, please keep in mind that by law, information about individual students and specific district staff cannot be shared. Every student and every staff member deserves to know that concerns about them will not be aired in public. Also, please keep in mind that public comment is not the best place to first alert the district to a concern you have. Please share concerns first with relevant staff, such as the teacher or principal. If you feel the concern is not addressed adequately, you may appeal to that person's supervisor up the chain of command, if necessary, to the superintendent. Decisions made by the superintendent may be appealed to the board. Finally, please note that the board generally does not respond during the public comment period. If you need a response, please consider contacting us by email, phone, or postal mail. When I recognize you, please state your name and city of residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. You will be given a 1-minute notice and a 10-second notice, and I will notify you if your time has expired. Christopher Adal, did I pronounce that correctly? Okay, sorry.
Hi, my name is Christopher Adol, and I live on Lancaster Street, 12203. My kids go to Pine Hills and Myers. My family and I moved to Albany from the Mid-Hudson Valley 2 months ago from a small town school district where anyone different was bullied, and the bullies included the teachers and administration. Under those circumstances, it was difficult for all of us to remain optimistic for the future of such a society. But the city and the school district have given my family hope for the future. People here are more open and accepting, social and public services seem more robust and helpful, and school policies and administration attempt to facilitate students' growth into better people. And then we learned that there is an entire community within the city that is struggling as a result of the blatantly racist 1930s practice of redlining by the FHA. By now, nearly a century later, this should have been fixed, but today, Albany still houses some of the most racially segregated schools in the US, according to the Civil Rights Project of the University of California, with the Arbor Hill and West Hill neighborhoods. Case in point, at this very school, 64% black to 10% white is not diverse, that's segregated. It's every citizen's responsibility to fix this blaring inequality, but it's much more all of yours. than ours, given your power. So it's been very interesting recently to watch each member of this board's reaction to the resistance of Arbor Hill residents and the attempt at making life even more difficult for them. In response to concerned parents and community members taking the time to formally address this board under these intimidating circumstances, I've witnessed some troublesome reactions on your parts. Inattention while munching on snacks and staring at your computer screen or absence. Chiding a senior citizen for not speaking into his microphone properly and making other snide comments to certain speakers. Claiming on social media that the fact that Arbor Hill Elementary students were going to be uprooted was fake news, also absent. But I've also seen eagerness to do the right thing, unwavering demand for truth and justice, and willingness to question the status quo. So my hope in speaking tonight is that I make each of you more aware of yourselves and your responsibility to help this city ultimately overcome its segregationist tendencies, not only through your decisions as a group, but also your individual actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adel. Alana Klein.
Good evening. It was my understanding that the 2019-2020 school calendar would be addressed tonight after the robust debate in, I believe, late March. It apparently has already been addressed, so my comments might be moot, but I'm still going to read them. Just as what seemed to be unanimous consent in the room with regards to the calendar for the 2018-2019 school year, I was disappointed in the results of the decision not to place a school holiday around Eid. As disappointing as that was due to being last minute in nature, I do commend the board for immediately taking up the issue of the 2019-2020 calendar. I realize that holidays that are currently observed are contractually obligated in some way, but that could possibly be negotiated. In my view, the easiest and most obvious holiday to eliminate to make room for the observance of Eid would be to eliminate quote-unquote Columbus Day. I'm certain that if you took a poll of the teachers, the students, and the community, much less the board itself, you would find this idea would have overwhelming support. In this way, you would be honoring the Islamic community while at the same time telling our indigenous community that the Albany City School District will not recognize the white supremacist narrative that is Christopher Columbus. An alternative idea could get a bit messy, but I still see it as a viable option. Currently, there are 2 Christian holidays, 2 Jewish holidays, and 0 Islamic holidays on the calendar. While students and faculty are allowed to take excused absences to celebrate religious holidays, this would still put those in the Islamic community at a disadvantage because they would still need to make up the work of the day that they missed. To balance this, you could give the Christian faith one day, the Jewish faith one day, the Islamic faith one day, and students of each faith would all be given the option of taking a second religious holiday. In this way, you in essence gain one extra possible snow day added to the calendar. This would help alleviate the eliminating excess snow days issue that was also brought up on March 15th. I think the easiest option is to switch out quote-unquote Columbus Day, but again, I do realize that this is a process. I hope you'll consider my words in your future discussions. Thank you for your time. Boycott the NRA, Black Lives Matter. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Ms. Klein. Antonio Rodriguez? Okay, thank you, sir. So that concludes public comment. We're on to routine consent. May I get a motion to adopt routine consent? Ms. I'm sorry, like Ms. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Savage. Any set-asides? Okay. Okay. Ms. Tibbetts, could you have her sign this, please? Because we also require that in addition to signing it, you put what you're speaking about, ma'am, so. So hang on, and then we'll have your mic turn on, and you can come sit down. You can come sit down now, so you don't have to walk twice, of course. No, no need to apologize. It's okay, it's okay. No, no, no problem. Should just flip the switch, and then we won't start the timer until you.
Hello, can you hear me?
There we go.
Oh,
We
good.
we'll
Okay,
start it now. No problem. Thank you.
okay. I was so nervous the last time I spoke that I couldn't
If you
eat or
could,
sleep.
I promise we'll have Ms. Smith restart the timer again. If you could please state your name
Okay.
and the city of residence,
Yes,
and then
my name is Christina H. Cummings. My address is Albany, New York, 12203. I am a retired teacher from the Albany City School District, having worked 28 years full-time and 6 years part-time, including 10 years at the Albany County Jail. I'm very familiar with the schools, having been in every school as a member of ABSTA. What I would like to say about the groups of children involved in closing or changing schools from one elementary to middle school and so on is this. What should happen in this situation? You have 3 groups. You have 2 elementary schools and 1 middle school at this time. And this is what I think very strongly, is that each group should win. It should be a win, win, win situation. This is what I would do. Take the children at the O'Neill School. They are struggling very hard at that school because a lot of them are not on the grade level of middle school children. Divide the group in 2. Leave half of them at the O'Neill School and open up Harriet Gibbons School as a school, again, on Waterville Avenue. Have small groups and small classes for them, and have many, many, many teacher aides, volunteers, anybody who would want to help them. I've been a volunteer at Arbor Hill for 4 years. Every minute of it was a joy. I love doing this, and I would even go to one of the middle schools to help and volunteer. Because if the students cannot read and they're not on grade level by middle school, they're not going to make it into Albany High. And I know what happens. They just keep hanging on till they're 16. So I would put so much effort into helping those middle school kids by having smaller groups and lots of attention. In the meantime, the elementary schools would stay in place as neighborhood schools. All the time I worked there, I could see the kids running across the different areas from their homes, which are nearby to Arbor Hill. And I talked last time about what a wonderful community school that is. So that's what I have to say tonight.
thank you so much, Ms. Cummings.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to me.
Nope, thank you. Got a motion to accept routine consent from Ms. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Savage, and any set-asides? I have a set-aside. So the set-aside is D, which is the Expressive Journeys contract. Any other set-asides? Seeing none, all those in favor of the acceptance of routine consent except for D? That is unanimous. Can I get a motion? I feel like I'm doing like a Woody Allen routine. Can I get a motion to accept Expressive Journeys D routine consent? Oh, thank you, Ms. Smith, for saving me from doing it. Seconded by Ms. Savage. Any discussion? And that's me. So the clarification I need on the contract D, I'm trying to look at whose initials are here. It looks like yours, Bill. But it might be you, Ms. Tibbet, that also I'm going to be asking. My understanding was that based on the questions for the years that were listed on the form, that we were only going to be seeing the contract needing to be approved and then signed by me for this current year. And this, from the answers to the questions, and this current year would be 17 and 18. I see page 1 does show the date of 2018, but I don't see, and I apologize if it's there, I don't see anywhere on page 1, which is the new document for the as an addendum, where anywhere on there it talks about the time period. It actually says it's an addendum for the 2016 contract. It puts down the date that it was signed by the director of the department. Attached to it is the original document with much earlier dates, and I don't see any document on there that talks about, normally there's a cover page, it'll tell us the addendum, it'll tell us what the amount of money is. I'm not comfortable with my having to sign something that just has the date of signature being from 2018 without an actual contract time period. The only thing I learned about this was from the answer and the questions that you forwarded. I don't know who answered them, but I'm at a loss.
I can speak to that. So this is a 3-year contract, and we received additional students needing these services for the 17-18 school year. And so the original 3-year contract did not include those students, and therefore we needed to submit an addendum to increase the contract. So it appears that the updated version of this document was not received in time to be posted.
So since we meet in a week on May the 3rd, based on our schedule this year, can this wait to be signed and approved as part of routine consent?
Absolutely.
I would appreciate that. Thank you so very, very much. So can I get a motion to table 5? Ms. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Smith, and all those in favor? Thank you. That is unanimous. We're tabling that, and we are off routine consent. Let's see. I apologize. So I know I was thrown a little because you're so eager, Superintendent and Director of Curriculum and Instruction, that you were there, but it appears that before you speak, we're going to be doing action item on 2 policies. So Ms. Savage, the floor is yours.
So we talked about these policies at our last meeting. You'll recall that there are 2 policies before you. 4531, which is our field trip policy. The board has always spoken very favorably about trying to encourage our principals, as Ms. Buff referenced today, to get out into the community as much as possible to ensure that our students have as wide exposure as possible. We tried to put a little bit of that philosophy in the policy while also clarifying some of the more bureaucratic aspects of the policy to ensure that all of the policies were clear, and it was clear that they applied to all types of excursions away from school, including both academic field trips and extracurricular excursions done with clubs and athletics and the like. So that's the first policy we talked about briefly last time. And then secondly, 0150, which is our HIV/AIDS policy, and after consultation with council, we didn't feel that we need to maintain this as a separate policy in our policy manual because all of the related issues apply to many other health situations besides HIV, and the ones that are specific to HIV are embedded in the state law. So there's not really anything new in this policy. So we are recommending that we rescind this policy on those grounds.
Thank you, Ms. Savage. Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, and I always ask this of you. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Wilson. Oh, you anticipate, everybody's eager tonight. You anticipate making a motion. First, I'm going to ask Ms. Savage, are these 2 items that can be moved together, or would you like them separate?
It's fine to move them together. The motion would just have to be to amend 4531 and rescind 0150.
We'll break them out then. Do you want to make the motion, to read the motion, and then we'll get,
So I'd like to make a motion to amend 4531 as specified in the documents in front of you.
Ms. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Roach. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Ms. Savage?
So we'd like to entertain a motion to rescind 0150, the HIV/AIDS policy.
Ms. Smith made the motion, and Ms. Roach seconded. All those in favor? And that, again, is unanimous. Thank you so much. Superintendent, Ms. Bechtel, it's yours.
Thank you very much. Before we get started, we do have someone that we approved at the last board meeting with us today, and I wanted to formally introduce Ms. Gallimore, who is the new assistant principal at Pine Hills Elementary School. So this is the third part of our three-part series to just talk about where we're headed and just to kind of refresh our memories. We adopted our new vision, mission, and goals in November of 2017. And in looking at those first three goals, back in March, we talked about, on the 17th, we talked about human resources and the things that we are doing to move forward and actively diversify our workforce and create a diverse pool for our principals and district leaders to select employees from. We have had these at prior meetings, but this is the new handout and backup information for applying to our district. We also have listed our career fairs and different processes and procedures that we are refining. And I think it's important to note the last bullet under processes and procedures. Developing reports to track our progress is extremely important so that we can make sure that the things that we are implementing are getting us the desired result. And then being willing to look at that information carefully and make tweaks and adjustments as needed. These are a list of the human resources next steps. Again, what is interesting to note is at the end of that first section, the feedback surveys, we will be incorporating these as we move forward so that we can get feedback from not only candidates and applicants, but also our employees as well, developing a system for securing that feedback. And then looking at how we recognize our employees within the district, not just our teachers and administrators, but also including our support staff, which we heard loud and clear from Convocation that we need to really look at how everyone plays a role in educating our children and making sure that people are recognized for their efforts. The second piece is partnering with our diverse community, and we talked about that at our last board meeting on April 12th, and we have divided our community partnerships into three areas: community service, academic opportunities, and student internships. And so just refreshing your memory with regard to the things that we're looking to do in enhancing not only our presence in the community, but also the things that we're doing. Which brings us to increasing student achievement, which every single thing that we do, we like to make that connection to how does it impact student achievement, and broadening that scope of student achievement, because while absolutely grades are important, we have to look at how we have multiple measures of success for our students and multiple opportunities. So the way in which we are looking at this is starting with an instructional focus, and this is bringing together a lot of the work that we are already doing, but tweaking it and debriefing with not only our administrators and district leaders, but including the teacher's voice in this. So you're going to hear a little bit about where we are now and what we're looking forward to do with regard to our instructional framework. And one of the purposes of this instructional framework is so that we have a consistent implementation of instruction, but also expectation of what is happening in one class and versus another class, so that we can close those gaps and look at the delivery of instruction being more consistent. Three areas within that instructional framework are culturally responsive education, the teaching and learning process, differentiated instruction, and student engagement. So I'm going to turn a little bit of the time over to Karen Bechtel to talk to us about the work that we've been doing with our instructional framework and those next steps.
Good evening. So the instructional framework is not new. It comes out of the work of the Instructional Leadership Handbook that Cecily Wilson Turner and Jennifer Houlihan worked very hard on. It's a beautiful document that really outlines the best practices that we are trying to make consistent across the district, and also calibrate our leaders to identify those best practices in classrooms. So what the work was, it was to really explicitly define those best practices based on research. And we've had those documents, and as you know, we've really been engaged very much in the walkthrough process over the past year and a half, and digging deeper and deeper, and learning how to calibrate ourselves so that we are consistent with our teaching staff as well, which is equally important, so that we are all on the same page. So what we did, though, was, what we didn't have, though, is we didn't have sort of the framework for it that was fully communicated out to everyone. It was communicated in spots, and it's a part of the emerging instructional handbook work. So this winter, actually this sort of came out of the AVID National Conference, we learned of someone who created an instructional framework at the building level where Wicker and AVID, the AVID work, was sort of the underpinnings of that framework. So I came back and I said, we need to communicate this work out better than we're doing, but it's okay because it's a part of an emerging cycle. So we took the definitions, we had 8 originally in the work from the fall of 2016. We took those out and we distilled them a little bit so that they were sort of a very manageable definition. We added data-driven instruction because even though data-driven instruction was sort of the underpinnings of the instructional framework, it wasn't explicitly named. And we brought a committee together to do that work. The next steps, though, is to bring that instructional framework draft out to the teachers. I want to make sure that as we do this, that we're doing this together so that we have the buy-in across the system. The teachers really are very familiar, particularly with differentiation, which was a district priority last year. Many of the other schools chose other pieces, whether it was student engagement or some other aspect. So they've seen that definition. They've seen that we've developed continuums. Some teachers have seen those continuums. Some teachers have seen those 2-page definitions and other resources, but we haven't pulled it out in a really public manner that this is how the City School District of Albany does instructional business. And so we're looking forward to, we're moving very quickly. As our superintendent is interested in our doing that. So our next level is to have a group of teachers and the original committee that did the leadership handbook work together to vet the definitions one final time. And then we already have Jake sort of working on a beautiful document that will message what it is that we do, the business of instruction in the City School District of Albany.
A couple of other pieces to bring to light. This will also help us strengthen the horizontal alignment that happens within a grade level, but also that vertical alignment, because now it becomes crystallized where students are coming from, where they are, and where they're going. And so now we can tighten up that vertical alignment of instruction as well, because then we'll have that clear framework. A couple of other pieces, I want to go to the culturally responsive education. We will have an ask from the board and from the policy committee to explore, as we heard with regard to being a welcoming community and a welcoming committee, a board stance on culturally responsive education. And we welcome the work with the board to establish a policy with regard to where we stand, and that is an ask. And we would really appreciate that because we feel that that will help us strengthen the direction that we're going in when we look at culturally responsive education. And that idea has been broached just in conversation, but I do know that it has to be flushed out through the policy committee. And so we look forward to working along those lines. The other piece, our next piece that we know is of importance is empowering families to support the success of their children. And when we look at that, we have been doing some work with our DSIP and our SIP, and we've been focusing on 3 areas. We have our committee and our team involvement and making sure that our committees and teams are comprised of a variety of people to give input with regard to those documents. The family engagement opportunities, reaching families where they are, looking at different ways of engaging our families, and what does that mean in terms of engagement? Because for different family structures, engagement may look differently. And then how do we as a district embrace that variety of engagement? And then our Parent and Family University, looking at how our parents are understanding how to navigate through the system, helping our parents with the questions that they may have. How do you ask those particular questions, especially when it comes to the support that the school or the classroom may need? So at this time, I will open it up for questions.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thank you, Ms. Bechtel. So I'll start with you, Ms. Roach.
Actually, since I just came back from, maybe
You want me to start?
Thanks.
Ms. Wilson.
Also rebooting my machine.
Thank you so much. It's an excellent presentation. I think I want to start with going right into the school culture. Well, I apologize. The instructional framework, which I don't want you to take my question as I have any opposition to it. I'm impressed and I find it to be wonderful. I'm just wondering about the balance between each individualized school culture and them, the public and even school implying like this is like specific directives. I'm just curious about that.
One of the really beautiful things about the instructional framework is that it is a framework. We're developing that at the district level. It's overarching. It's these 9 best practices that are really universal to what occurs in instruction. Then the buildings, and I failed to mention this, the buildings will need to take that district framework back and say, this is where our work is underneath this umbrella, these umbrella definitions. This is where our priorities are based upon our data, so that they can infuse that in their SEPs and what they need to do. And it will also allow for places like North Albany Academy that is doing AVID to insert those AVID strategies under their student engagement pieces. Pine Hills does the Leader in Me. It's a way you'll be able to take it and infuse the things that you're doing, the magnet themes, Montessori. All of it will fit underneath it. But what we're saying is, as a district, this is our overarching umbrella of how we do instruction.
Thank you. I can appreciate that, and that kind of was, I was going to segue into another question about how the community would be impacted, but that clarifies it for me.
Oh, good. Then I don't have to say we'll wait till we go around one more time for it. Dr. Chatur?
Sorry for coming in late. I missed most of your presentation, but I looked at the slides, and this is great. This is great. We're headed in the right direction. I wanted a little bit more description of what's under differentiated instruction. Can you explain that a little bit more?
I'll start and then you can go. So we'll tag team on this. So many times differentiated instruction, people look at just different modalities of learning, whether a student is an auditory learner, visual learner, kinesthetic learner. What differentiation does is it takes it to the next level. So even though the overarching mode of which you are delivering instruction, now within that mode, what are those discrete differences that a particular student may need? Also with that, the level of questioning that we engage our students in. So differentiation and student engagement almost go hand in hand, because when you start looking at higher level thinking, then you're going to ask those questions that, regardless of the level of student, they will be different types of questions, but will help the student teach at a help the student think at a critical level, which we call in Education Ease DOK3 or DOK4 types of learning activities. So it's taking it to the next level beyond just whether it is a hands-on activity, a listening activity, or a visual activity. It's delving deeper into the questioning strategies and what is it that the student is actually engaged in while they're doing their learning.
And if I could add on, we actually have a very explicit definition that is really around the process, the content, and the product. And that I'm hoping that you can see that what you might do is you might have, for example, different content for teachers. I was in a classroom about a month ago where the students were in groups working on they actually had the same topic, but they had articles at different reading levels, and the teachers had done the work to ensure that the students could manage those, do the close reading in their group settings and manage that, but still be able to have the content discussion with the larger group. That was at the high school. You could have differentiation in what is produced. It could be different in the same class, or I'm sorry. It could be choice, exactly. So those are sort of some very explicit ways that DI is employed. Differentiated instruction is hard work, and it's complex, and it sounds so easy to say to a teacher, you need to differentiate. We've worked to provide some guidance this year. I feel confident that if you asked our teachers about differentiation this year, they are going to be able to respond to you about what that means to them, because it has been our focus.
And so this would enable even the high end of the learners to be challenged, right?
You're familiar with The Guardian, right? The newspaper, that's the London newspaper. One of those groups had articles from The Guardian. So that because they were very attentive to the NWEA data and the reading levels of the students, and so the topic was pulled from that source.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Lang?
So I'm going to add about differentiated instruction. And I know that this is something that teachers are taught, and that there is, so I guess I wanted to know what, pull out what the outcomes or how you're going to monitor, or what the goals are for those classes that are getting deeper into it than just spelling words, for example, that critical thinking. Is there a target, or is there an outcome where this will affect behavior, it will affect moving forward, it will affect vertical? How does all...
If we're doing it right, we're not going to we will have less of those behavior issues, because the students would be engaged at the level that they're in. So that is really an outcome that we seek. We certainly seek an outcome of growth. We talk a lot about growth here in NWEA. We would certainly expect to see growth if we're starting at where the student is and leveraging them up. Then we should see that reflected in our overall data. And another, I hate that accountability is such a harsh word, but the walkthrough process has really been transformative for the district. We've gotten so much better at it this year. Last year was our first real foray into that. And so that's always an opportunity too, to have that conversation with teachers outside of the evaluation system. And so we are keenly watching for differentiated instruction when we go into the classroom, and are able to have those everybody can have those, we've built the capacity for people to have conversation about those. So that's an outcome we're seeking too, is that people can do it better and better all the time.
Ms. Roach?
Thanks for the presentation. I wondered, could you tell me more about what specific indicators for culturally relevant education will be worked in the instructional framework, and how you'll look for them when you do the walkthroughs?
So we have a rubric. They're not rubrics. They're actually called continuums for all 8 of our. There's 9 now. We have to develop the one for the data-driven instruction. We do have those continuums. I would say probably out of all of them, The CRE needs some work. We actually had a meeting today with Dr. Maria Hernandez from NYU after her last session with the CRE cohort. And that's one of the things that we were talking about is how, and it's another complex area. How can we measure through the walkthroughs when we see culturally responsive education in the classroom? And I can't really answer your question because I really do believe we have more work to do to develop that explicit document.
So where we are in that process is with NYU Steinhardt, we are looking at, we have done the philosophical work. Some of it, most of we're working through our training with our staff. And so from that step, now we've had the training, we've looked at our biases, we've looked at what are those things that we may unconsciously do that are not culturally responsive. And now, how do we change our behavior as the adults? But then what does that look like through the instruction? What types of materials are we pulling? How are our students seeing themselves in the pictures and the novels that they're reading? How are people even getting to the level of, as an English teacher, if I'm reading 5 novels, how are people of color portrayed in each of those novels? Is there any difference? Are they all the same? Looking at the actual materials that we're using to educate our children and being culturally responsive that way. So the heavy lift is about to begin.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Ms. Smith.
I just wanted to say I was just delighted to read this and to hear you also present tonight on it. And I really want to take you up on the ask. I think that's a very important piece of work for the board, and that would support the framework, would support all that we're about. I also wanted to note that I think it was in one of the SBUs where Dr., and I'm going to get her name wrong, Canzoni, or is it Canzone? Canzone Ball. I've messed it up already. But I really enjoyed reading and wished I could have been in that room where the staff were going through, I think, restorative justice training, and I thought it was fairly explicit what the intent was, and I just thought that's a really important piece of the work. And that really hit home for me, again, just at the last meeting, where students who had visited the HBCUs, talked about they went to those schools and campuses and felt at home. And I think my heart broke, kind of having a sense that they don't quite feel at home here. And I'm sure that I'm understating what they felt. And so I do think that's a very important piece of the work, as are all of these things, engagement, differentiations. I just personally couldn't be happier with what you've presented here, and want to thank you.
Ms. Savage.
So I'll try and keep this more succinct by seconding everything Vicki said, because everything she said is exactly how I feel. I also wanted to draw out that I believe this board has been really consistent over the 3.5 years I've been on it in promoting that sort of position around CRE and equity, but never before has a superintendent or interim superintendent asked us to formalize that. That's not been part of the way that we did business, and I think that really speaks to our improved approach in terms of setting direction and being really clear about what the direction is, rather than it just being something we talk about, being something we do and do together. So I really appreciate that. One suggestion that a couple of parents have made to me when they've crossed these sort of CRE type things, and these kind of things come up all the time, and one that's happened in my experience this school year was a math sheet where there was it was like a cops and robbers kind of setup, and all of the people who were violators, who were being, there was a math thing with it, but every single one was a person of color. Like, I mean, the parents were just like, how does a teacher not see that when they photocopied that sheet? They just took the sheet out of someplace else, right? It wasn't the teacher reaching out and seeking that. They just copied the sheet, sent it out, and they obviously didn't notice. It was not an intentional thing. But it seems like there could almost be, in this period where we've done some of the philosophical work, but we have not gotten all of our teachers through, and we know what we're trying to do. Could there be like a simple 10 things to make sure you look at, 5 things to make sure you look at every time you examine a piece of material before you give it to your students? Last names, visuals, something just to give teachers a help to remember, because people aren't doing this on purpose, but they're just not being intentional about not doing it. And that's where we need to move. It's not a lack of intent, it's an intentionality that we're seeking. And I think so. It's just an idea. I don't need necessarily an answer to that, but I do think we need to do something much faster than we can do, long term. And then I did want to just reflect back one thing, and is that okay, or do you want me to come back? I can come back.
Love that self-regulation. Such a good board. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you again. And I want to take your ask about the cultural responsive education and raise you one that I know on May 3rd at SUNY there is a series on cultural responsive education, so I want to invite everyone there, and I'll send the information out, and I think that'll be excellent for us all to partake if we can as a board and community. I'm on the same page with the cultural responsive education as Ann and Vicki. I want to indicate that also. But my final question was about the community engagement, which is a point of passion for me, and mainly almost like with the you don't know what we don't know, we can't reach who we can't reach. And that's something that's very fascinating to me, and I ask people all the time when I hear feedback about not knowing this or that. So I'm very pleased that it maintains a part of your focus, and I tell people that all the time, that is a major part of your thematic focus for ongoing for many years.
Dr. Chator. Ms. Lang.
I want to talk about the commitment team involvement for parents and students, and I was just wondering, what are the new or different ideas that are coming out than what we are doing, and also what are those, how are you going to reach, what are your goals in that?
Are you speaking of the DSIP? In the SEPs, yep. So the DSIP, the first DSIP meeting was Tuesday. And we had about, 25 people maybe in the room, maybe 30. And we looked at last year's DSIP. We looked at some data. We looked at the results from the school reviews, the recommendations that were made to buildings. What we wanted to try to impress upon the folks in the room is that the DSIP doesn't start here and then the SEPs are formed. It's really more about the school reviews occur, and then we pull out the trends from those school reviews, because then that informs the DSIP. So things, and there are things that you'll find things in some SEPs that are individualized to that particular building, but when you see the SEPs, as I think you've seen every year, there are some consistencies across them, and we were very conscious about making sure that we identified those. And the one which Mrs. Adams references up here is the reaching families where they are. That was a recommendation, I believe, pretty much in every SEP. And so we have asked our buildings to think about how do they reach the hard-to-reach parents. And I'm going to give some kudos to Leslie Buff, because I know that she struggled with parent engagement years ago. And I think what happened with some of the AVID work and going out and seeing other schools and seeing what other folks are doing is they've really got it to inviting parents into individual classrooms and having children do work. I know I've heard Leslie, she's still here? Oh, speak about the child who wrote the letter to the father, and then the father wrote the letter to the child. Though at the breakfast, did I get that right, Leslie? Is she? Yeah. Oh, okay. And I think that Leslie has done some really nice things about paying attention to how she needs to get in touch with her family. So those are some of the things that we've asked all buildings to think about as they create their SEPs. But anyway, come back to the DSIP. So we pulled those things out, and now we have to look at what we did last year, because the work remains a lot the same. The work is around, we're not abandoning differentiation. We are adding student engagement, we're adding CRE, but we're not abandoning differentiation because we're not at mastery. So we need to continue to work on that. We know we continue to need to work on data-driven instruction and what can the district do, the district system, to provide the support to the buildings. So it's really the school reviews inform the DSIP then, the school reviews and the DSIP then inform the SEPs. And so it's a circle.
And just to add to that, one of the things that has come forward from the principals that may be a little different is taking a portion of, we don't know exactly what this is going to look like, but taking a portion of our monthly principals meetings and giving them an opportunity to share out best practices, what's working for them, what may not have worked, and then being able to share those ideas among themselves, then they'll be able to give feedback to one another.
Ms. Roach?
No additional questions, thanks.
Ms. Smith?
Just again, another comment. I think I noticed that in the data on the parent universities programs that looks like more parents are participating, and I saw more students. I don't know if I recalled a lot of students last year, but I just thought that was kudos, and a reminder. We were just thinking about this, that on all of these things that you have laid out, I know that as an elected official, as a board member, there's a bit of always impatience and we, the urgency to, oh, we've got to do this, we've got to improve on that. But we're talking about, human relationships, and all of those things take time. And so I want to just give a shout out to all of you, our staff, our principals, for sticking to it. We're all going to not always get it right, and as long as we're keeping that effort going, communicating about what's worked, what hasn't worked, creating our own professional learning communities, then I think we can't go wrong. We're going to be able to get to that point where we will all be more thoughtful, we will all be more creative, more understanding, and really help get build the relationship with community and families. Thank you.
Ms. Savage?
So I want to just tie together something that you said in the part about human resources, where you talked about reporting on your results. And I know, because I've worked with all of you quite a bit, that that's your intent, to report on your results all up and down what you're doing. And I just wanted to emphasize how important that is, because we do want to be in this continuous improvement place where we're actually measuring whether what we're doing is working, and then if it's not, doing something else. And that somehow I think we need to evolve that into a messaged, a well-written, understandable piece for the public about what's different in the Albany City School Districts. You talked about the 9 instructional things, you talked about themes, helping somehow elevate all of these little things, consolidate, synthesize into something where people can really understand what is happening at a very high level, not in a lip surfacey way, but in a real way, that we really are making changes and here's what they are, and somehow getting those reporting to flow back into that communication piece. That will help people see that it's really happening, believe that it's really happening, and it will happen better and faster because people will believe in it. And so that's the loop I'm hopeful that we're on. And thank you again for this excellent presentation.
So I echo when Ms. Smith referenced a professional learning community. One of the things that I know we've worked strongly on in terms of common planning time in the buildings was the importance of both across grade levels and within the building themselves, creating PLCs so that people could learn best practices from one another, and also creating a culture within a building so that teachers feel comfortable learning from one another, which is its own, sort of starting point. So the idea that principals recommended, I think you said it was self-initiated in a sense, that they create, in a sense, a PLC within their own framework for monthly meetings, is just a statement to me about the level of communication and culture within our building leadership team. when they're doing these meetings, that they want to engage with each other and learn from one another, and that speaks to a positive climate in that area as well. So that's very heartening. And not to embarrass Leslie, but so 7 years ago, she was one of the first people that I met in the district. And I remember the struggles that she had to bring parents into the building long before there was an Avid here, but when she had come here from Myers. And I think I even talked about it before, so I seem to embarrass her every so often when we have a meeting here. But I think it's a testament to sort of the idea that it doesn't really happen overnight. And so, was bringing in food at first, and then she'd have her PTA, and I remember going to some PTA meetings here that had, 5 parents. But she was there talking about how you support your kids and how you help them at home. So it was as if it could be for a room of 30 or 50 or 100, even if there were only 3 or 5. But she had everything there, and she was telling them, and she had her binders, and she was working with them on that, and then figured out, well, if I switch the time, because North Albany is no longer a neighborhood school, and maybe if I switch the time up, I can get people to come more and put food, but also get them in a different time of day. And she did, and she got more people. And so, yes, Avid has helped, but I believe it's the stick-to-itiveness of almost going on 7 years now, because like I said, I may not remember a lot as I'm getting older, but I remember when I first met her. And so she really stuck to it, and she really built on it. And in a sense, the receptiveness of Avid. So I think that is sort of an important thing when each building and building leader is working to increase buy-in from the community, is that you may only get 3 people the first time. You may only get 7 people. But if you stick to it and then you figure out and you talk to your families and figure out what they need and when they can come better, and you really show that you're there for the long haul in the sense of you're going to continue having these meetings, then eventually, trial and error, people do come and buy in. And I think her numbers show it in terms of her elementary 2 deep. We remember when they were 1 deep in this school, but a 2 deep elementary, and also having a lot more people come and learn that way. So thank you so much. And we're out of time, so unless someone has something they need to add, I was going to thank you and move on to the next topic. So thank you so much. And we are now on to, I have to put my glasses on. I'm sorry I didn't memorize this. We are up to summer school planning, K through 12. Welcome, Mr. Chaffee. You're presenting in your return visit again for the first time, and always welcome, Ms. McKenna.
Good evening, everyone. So we will be presenting on the summer school programs for 2018. So this summer we have 8 programs, elementary, middle, and high school. In 10 of our school sites, breakfast and lunch will be provided for all students attending our programs. Transportation will be provided for middle school students, and the 3 elementary sites that will host multiple schools, Eagle Point, North Albany, and Toast. High school transportation will be available for students who live 1.5 miles from the school, which is in compliance with our transportation policy. The total budget this year for our entire summer school program is $2,858,367. And it's broken up between grants and general fund. And I'll get into a little bit more about the total budget in the next slide. So this slide shows how the money is spread out across the different funding sources. We are using general fund, Title I, Title III, Community Schools Aid, and other grants such as the MBK grant, the ESOP, and 21st Century, as well as the special education grants as well. One thing that you'll notice that is different from last year is that we are not having a separate newcomer program this summer. We are embedding the ENL supports into the elementary, middle, and high school summer programs, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the different programs that are being offered. Just so you get a sense of where we are from a budget perspective from last year to this year, We did increase the programs and the number of students that we are servicing, which means that we are increasing the number of dollars that we are expending on summer school programs this summer by $663,000 approximately. And actually $756,000, $663,000, which are coming from grants. And so I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Chiaffi, and he'll take you through the summer programs for elementary.
Thank you. Good evening. The first program that we're going to talk about is our Jumpstart pre-kindergarten program. And if you, the program has been in existence for several years, and it concentrates, or the focus on this particular program is for our kindergarten children who have not had any pre-K experiences. That's one focus of it. The second focus is really taking a look at the kids who are in our pre-kindergarten programs at this time and haven't really met any of the readiness skills or really are not up to par yet. This gives them a chance to work with them for an additional 4 weeks and get them up to where they need to be for the kindergarten classes when they walk in. There's a little change this year in location. It's going from Ash back down to Arbor Hill. We're going to be looking at all their academic and behavioral issues, as well as getting them socially ready for kindergarten. Our elementary summer program this year, one of the things that we're being very consistent with in the elementary programs is to make sure that there's not only the enrichment part, but there's also the academic focus in every single one of the programs. In the elementary program, you'll see that we have changed to one site, which is at North Albany Academy. We'll be handling approximately 275 students in that program. It'll be running from July 2nd right on through to August 3rd. They'll have 4 hours of academic instruction and 4 hours of enrichment in each one of those sites, or at the site. We'll be doing pre and post assessment in ELA and writing and math. We also have added teachers to partner with the YMCA to provide the enrichment opportunities for the program. We'll be having music, art, and technology enrichment in that program. That's okay. Our 21st Century and LEAP enrichment program. This program we decided this year to add the academic component to it. It'll work very similarly to our regular elementary program. They'll be having 4 hours of instruction and 4 hours of enrichment. The enrichment with this program, though, will be provided by the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA. They'll be focusing in on arts, drama, and technology. Again, pre and post assessments. The students that are selected for all these programs are being based on our NWEA scores. We're taking a look at kids who have high growth or who have high achievement, low growth. We're taking a look at each one of those. They fall into our third quadrant of our NWEA scores. This year, the programs are going to be at Arbor Hill, Giffen, SA, and SPA. These are their home schools. So there will not be transportation. They'll be able to walk to these particular programs. And we'll be having about 330 students in those programs this year. Our Empire State After School program, the summer enrichment, again, focusing on not only the enrichment part of it, but also the academic part of it. The academic focus in this particular program, like all the other programs, will be providing instruction and intervention both in ELA, math, and also offering enrichment through the Boys and Girls Club in the areas of arts, drama, and technology. Again, we'll be looking at pre and post assessments. The students will be selected according to their NWEA scores. The new part of this program is it's part of our ESPA grant, and we've also added the academic portion to it so that students in all the programs are getting the same type of enrichment and the same type of academics. Middle school.
Okay, our middle school summer start program, this is for students who are currently in grades 6 through 8. including our elementary sixth grade students. So it's not just the sixth grade students at our middle schools. It does include our 4 elementary schools who still have sixth grade. The goal of the summer program is to provide summer instruction, intervention, and skill maintenance in reading and math for students approaching grade level and who need additional intervention to advance to the next grade level in middle schools. We will be looking at priority standards, pre and post tests in reading and math, and PBIS points to determine the effectiveness of the program and the advancements that students make during the summer school program. Changes from 2017 summer to this summer is we will be using assistant principals to provide support to the middle school program. This is, last year we didn't have this, but based on reflection and conversation with the 2 summer school coordinators last year, it was determined that each middle school assistant principal would provide 1 week of support during the 5 weeks. So we have that all scheduled out, and they will be on site if the need arises and support is needed. Transportation, we did provide transportation last year. However, we found that the elementary 6th grade students had difficulty with the CDTA, so we are offering or providing the yellow bus for student transportation for our elementary 6th grade students. And then they will transition into the middle school riding the CDTA, and we'll provide that training to them at the beginning of the school year or during orientation. Grade level field trips. We will be doing grade level field trips, but we will be bringing the field trips to the school, including colleges, to visit the schools and the students. Rotating vacation for homeschool coordinators. As you know, homeschool coordinators are 12-month employees, and they, at the middle level, they provide support to the summer middle school program. Last year, there was some gaps in when the homeschool coordinators were actually in attendance for the program. So this year we have coordinated schedules to ensure that there are a minimum of 2 homeschool coordinators each day of the program. Funding sources, Title I and Title III, and General Fund. Last year we did not have the ENL component in the middle school Summer Start program. However, we felt because of the newcomer, the Albany International Center program this year, there was not a need to have a newcomer summer program, so we are embedding the ENL component into the summer middle school program. The model for the middle school Summer Start program, very similar to what we did last year. It's a co-teach model, and we're doing block scheduling where the social studies and English teacher will co-teach, and so rather than having 6 30-minute blocks of time, students will be in a 60-minute block for ELA and social studies, and then a 60-minute block for STEM, science, and math. The other 2 blocks, and this was an addition that we made last year, we found that students really needed physical education in that period, so we did add a 5th component, which is PE, and then we also found that they needed almost like an advisory type of a period where they're building that relationships and more of a mentor-mentee type, so that 6 30-minute block of time will be that advisory where they're building that relationship with a trusted adult. High school, summer school. The goal is to obtain additional instruction, recover credits, and prepare for the August Regents exams. We will be looking at attendance, the credits recovered from the school year, and also the August New York State Regents exams, and also, which is not listed here, is the increase in the August graduation. Changes from last year to this year is we really took a look at the number of staff that we had in the program and where the actual need was. So we've decreased an AIS math teacher by 1 and an a science teacher by 1, but we've increased the 2 ENL teachers and APEX teachers for the 6-week program. And this is an interesting addition. In order to accommodate credit recovery through APEX, we're adding 2 satellite sites, one to Tony Clement and also one to Brooklyn. I know on the slide it states Myers. That is a typo. I apologize. I did correct it on my slide, so I will correct it on the PowerPoint and have Paula upload the corrected version. So Tony Clement, Hackett, and Brooklyn will have satellite Apex sites. As a part of the high school summer program, we are offering another satellite over at the AIC here for algebra prep for our ENL students who are in the AIC program this year, and where we believe that they are ready after this algebra prep course to take the Algebra Regents exam in August. So we're hoping to give those students a jump start on the Regents requirement for algebra. ENL supports, again, will be integrated into the summer school and not a standalone program like we had last year. One slide that that is not included in here, but I'll just give you a quick update, is the Special Education Extended School Year program. This is a program, as you know, that is really dictated by a student's IEP, and if extended school year is identified as a need in their IEP, those are the students who attend the extended school year. The program will be housed at Ash and Montessori, and at this point in time, the number of, because we're still going through the annual review process, we do not have a definite number of students participating or attending the extended school year. But surely I will give you some updated information as soon as those annual reviews are completed by the end of this month. And that's it. Questions?
Thank you very much. Ms. Roach?
Sure. I just had a quick question regarding something you said regarding selection criteria for the elementary school. I think you said the selection criteria was for students who were high achievement and low growth, but I think it was the opposite. It's the opposite, right?
High growth, low achievement.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Lang?
I wanted you to walk me through, how would a parent know their child was selected, or how does the process start for letting parents know that this is something that would benefit their child?
The building principals are putting together those lists right now. The lists will be shared with the different providers. If it's a district school, just the district elementary program, the principals will be reaching out to the parent to let them know. If they're in one of the 21st Century LEAP programs, for those programs, the actual providers will be reaching out with and contacting them by phone and meeting with them and getting the applications to them and filled out.
Dr. Chator?
No, we're doing the pre and the post evaluation of the students. Let's say in the post evaluation you find that there wasn't much of a market improvement. How do we use that data for the fall? Like, what are your ideas? What do you plan?
My ideas? Well, you know this program was developed before I came here, but what we usually would do is we would take the results, the post-assessment results, and we'd use that as a starting point for the teacher for the coming year. So they'd take a look at what had been done during the summer period of time, take a look at those results, and start right there from, just gives them a good starting point.
Ms. Wilson?
Thank you again. And my question was around the field trips. Are there any considerations to inviting people or organizations, groups, partners into the classes also?
That's exactly what we're doing this year.
Ms. Smith?
I just wanted to say that I think I was very happy, Ms. McKenna, that you were addressing some of the issues that were raised last year by the board. So you saved me from asking a fair number. But I wanted to just ask you about the selection of teachers, if you will. I remember that was one concern we had last year, and maybe it was at one school in particular, I can't recall, but the placement of teachers in these classes.
For middle school, high school, elementary? All
I
three?
recall it was elementary was an issue, but if you have a response to all of that,
Yeah.
that's helpful.
So We have to post, by contract, we have to post the positions, which we have done, and we are in the middle of interviewing and hiring and getting board approval for those positions. At this point in time, I don't believe we have a shortage of staff or teachers in any content area that I am aware of. We have a planning meeting at the middle school and the high school level next week, so I'll get an update on where we are in that hiring process.
And right now, we've got all the teachers who have applied. We've looked at, according to their contract, whether or not they've taught before. On Monday, what we'll be doing is we'll be actually going through the list of teachers and doing the actual placement by grade. We're trying to match teachers by the grades that they taught in already, and make sure that we have enough that we can match the second grade teacher with second grade kids in summer school. It's not a perfect match. But in fact, when I was just sitting here, I just got the list for the elementary program. They just sent it over to me, so we're just starting to take a look at that. We'll look at those teachers, and then we'll make the matches. Right now, we've pretty much got enough. We've done the postings. We've gotten enough applicants for each of the positions to fill all of the teaching positions. We're short 2 teacher aides right now. We've got all hall monitors set for all the programs. That's already been taken care of this in the last week. We've got our secretaries ready in positions, our coordinators, and we're going to be moving in on Monday looking at our teacher leaders.
Just follow up. And really, I think it was the matching I wanted to ask about based on student needs, because I think that was the issue last year. And I know it's not a perfect science, but I think there was that concern about.
Well, we were also trying to match teachers. If teachers from a particular building were applying, we were going to try to make sure that they were in that, working with those particular students.
Ms. Savage.
I think most of my questions are going to come when we do the evaluation, because you all did a very good job this past year of evaluating both quantitatively and qualitatively how we've done with summer school. And this change with the many, many more sites for elementary feels to me like a very big change. We're running, I didn't count them in my head, but like 6 or 7 sites instead of 2 or 3. And that feels like a really, really different way to do elementary school, summer school. And so I am very much looking forward to having a very reflective evaluation of whether that, and I know it's grant funded and it was tied into the grant and it was just, that's the way it is, but I really want us to reflect carefully on that and whether it's a good idea to accept that grant with that tie for next time. And then I also wanted to mention, Vicki was asking about connecting teachers, making sure that things were aligned to the actual teachers, and you talked about using a period for advisory in middle school. And I was wondering if you were trying to use that advisory period to tie them to adults who are going to be at the middle school that they are going to be at in order to try and create that long-term connection, or if that's just beyond what we can hope to do with this little bit of time.
Yeah, so at this point, I think that's difficult to do just because we're limited in the number of teachers that we have, but each student will be assigned an advisory period where low class size and just building that trusting relationship for those students during the summer school program. So it's difficult to match. It would be awesome, but it's difficult just because of the complications of the number of teachers that we have and where they're coming from.
So I wanted to thank you for, I know that Ms. Smith mentioned about listening to the board, but I actually was going to speak about it slightly differently. I wanted to thank you for actually doing what the board has asked over the years, even before you came, and am so pleased and so appreciative of your doing that, which is the work of being the sort of experts in the field to then roll out programs, and then after the programs are over, assess the efficacy of the programs, and then report to the board. So I don't know that anything I've ever asked has been other than, can we do this better? Can we have summer school actually work in some way? We're spending a lot of money. So I very much appreciate, and even though Ken was here last year, probably around this time, it's pretty funny and is back again. But I do appreciate the work that you and Dr. Wilson-Turner and anybody else who worked on this did, Ms. McKenna, because it was in fact going back and looking at what worked and didn't work, because I know we talk about research and we talk about all of that and the research and everything that supports education and academic outcomes improving, but there's also the art to it, right? And anything can happen on any day that can shift how that also gets done. So I don't know that there's some magic bullet on summer school, and it's been explained to us very, very cogently how you can't really, except in a pocket here or there, across the board with all summer school students, get a year's growth or even 6 months growth, because it's 6 weeks. So the point is to try to raise the level of and do growth for some kids who are on that cusp and move them into proficiency. And then for others to shore up what they've learned and not have lost. So I think that's been explained to us, and it's really great that each year there's a tweaking or a significant enough change that shows that you're looking at what's working and what isn't, and it's just so refreshing. And then the last piece about that is that the reason I had asked about the numbers, the dollars and cents from the year before, was because it looked like we were doing so much, and it looked like maybe the number was nicely flat on the actual general fund money. So I appreciate getting that table, because while we may decide that grants work or grants don't after we're using them, the fact that we're able to do this kind of program and put in things in place, and our actual general fund expenditure is still $500,000, even though I know grant money is still state taxpayer money, but it's not all City of Albany's. And so as a result, it's wonderful that we're actually able to do stuff for our students and also have a sense of being really smart with the use of money for purposes of doing what's important in summer school. So does anybody else have anything that they want to talk about? Yes, Ms. Roach. So going to go around one more time.
Okay. So and I just had a quick comment just about the PowerPoint presentation about the middle school reference to the changes in terms of grade level field trips. I was glad to hear that the middle school summer program will have outside organizations coming in and doing presentations and kind of bringing outside organizations in. I think that's a good change, but I think the way it was described, I thought this meant, oh, the changes, we're going to have grade level field trips. It made it sound like we're going to have maybe grade level field trips instead of school-wide field trips or whatever. So to hear that the kids won't be going off campus, it's a little misleading when it's, or they won't, right?
They won't be. They won't be.
Oh, they will not be.
No, we're bringing the field trips in-house.
My understanding was last year that it wasn't great when we
It
took them
wasn't,
off campus.
right, because we were trying to do a field trip in a very short period of time, and it just was not doable. So we had decided to reverse the field trips for this year as the recommendation and bring the field trips to the students,
And
including college visits and community organizations.
It's a really good idea, and I'm strongly in support of it. I'm just saying the PowerPoint's a little misleading. If for those that follow along at home and look at the board docs,
sure,
it's like I would not understand that that's what you were doing. So thank
Thank you.
thank you for
Sure.
moving it in that direction. It's
You're
great.
welcome.
Ms. Lang.
I'm going to use this opportunity to echo what Sue had said in the last presentation, is that if you build it, they will come. And, you know, we want to have a robust summer school, not only for the learning continuation, but also for many of our parents who struggle with childcare. And we don't want it to be a childcare. We want this to be a facility where the children want to learn. They're coming and they're excited. And I think that this is just one more step to that. If you build it, they will come. What does Albany offer? Albany offers a robust summer school of learning, enrichment, continuing education. So I want to say that thank you, and I think that this presentation represents that.
Dr. Chator. Ms. Wilson? Ms. Smith? Ms. Savage? Thank you so much. May I get a motion to adjourn? Ms. Wilson? No?
No, some committees met.
No, actually, this is a workshop.
This is a workshop.
Sorry, guys.
Then we won't discuss it. Sorry. You can get a
Sorry,
motion.
it's a workshop, so Ms. Wilson and seconded by Ms. Roach. All those in favor? Unanimous.